From the early 1800s to early 1900s, it wasn't uncommon for European institutions to still see the American natives as, at best, noble savages, simple, holistic people living with the land and devoid of any complex thought. But they had a problem. As explorers trekked the deep, remote jungles like Stevens and Catherwood in Central America and Hiram Bingham in the high Andes of Peru, along with many other explorers and historical accounts from hundreds of years before, they began to more and more rediscover the ruins of many great ancient American civilizations. Initially, the European thought was to separate these great ruins from the indigenous people who still live in the surrounding areas, stating that they were too primitive to have been the descendants of such an obviously grand, intelligent, and artistic civilization. But archaeology has come a long way in the last 200 to 300 years, and we have now explored, located, documented, and studied thousands of lost ancient American cities, of which the archaeological data irrefutably proves that these cities were built by the ancestors of the indigenous communities who still live in the area and speak many of the same languages. And in the modern day, it is often said that the age of exploration is over. However, with all of our LiDAR and satellite imaging technology, we still have not uncovered the vastness of civilizations in the ancient Americas. After a series of LiDAR scans in the Mexican jungles of Campeche, just north of Barnhart, a lost archaeological site discovered in just 1990, imaging came back to the archaeological team working under Ivan Sprajc that depicted the ruins of a large settlement far exceeding the size of a regular ancient Maya village. Then, much in the footsteps of Franz Blom, Stevens and Catherwood, or even Percy Fawcett in the Amazon jungle, Dr. Ivan Sprajc's team descended 37 miles deep into what had been termed archaeological black hole of impenetrable jungle to document this site in person. Now, only a few photos, and none of which of the largest ball courts, plazas, and pyramids have been released to the world yet. But what has been released is pretty amazing and proves that the age of exploration is certainly not over. Only photos of a few long buried stone structures, staircases, and columns have been released so far, of which these columns are so numerous that they named this new city Ocomtun, meaning stone column. Furthermore, reports are coming back of pyramids at the site of up to 50 feet in height. That's about half the height of the most notorious Mayan pyramid Kukulkan at Chichen Itza. And just as an aside, a discovery of an ancient pyramid that hasn't been seen before like this is not just a one-off thing. Even Dr. Ed Barnhart in his mid-20s discovered an ancient lost Maya city in northwest Belize that he named Ma'ashna. And in that city, he too found a pyramid that is taller than this one, nearly 60 feet tall. And if you'd like to hear that story, check out his podcast, ArchaeoEd, where he has a two-part series on discovering this lost city. All that to say, Balamku, Mashna, and Ocomtun are just a few of the discoveries of hundreds that have been made over the last 3 decades alone, with still thousands of square miles of unmapped jungle. Now, the stone columns in which the city is named after are numerous, and they would have served as structural support for the city's buildings, now in a toppled and raided state. Likely, they once looked more similar to the stone columns found at Chichen Itza. The archaeological characteristics of the city, as well as its location and the evidence gathered from pottery fragments in the area, indicate that the city was likely built during the late Classic era from around 600 to 800 AD and was deserted around 1000 AD during the still unexplained collapse of Maya civilization, which occurred about 500 years before the Spanish conquistadors ever arrived in the Americas and has been laying dormant among the trees, birds, and snakes ever since. If we look at the density of charted and discovered Maya ruins alongside the blank spots on the archaeological map, it really gives you the sense of just how much is left to be discovered and how little we truly understand of this and other great ancient American civilizations. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing, as this channel funds my excursions into the jungles of Central America that I will be documenting for you all to see. I also wanted to announce that I will finally be starting my podcast that so many have been asking me about. It took a little while to figure out how I was going to do this without having a co-host to help with the narrative and conversation, but I think perhaps I've got it figured out. I'm preparing the official announcement that will likely come out within the next week, along with the official lineup of my exclusive Patreon content, which, by the way, thank you so much to all of my Patreon supporters. I'm Luke Caverns, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.